special here. Sorry for a lot of cutting raw meat off the bat here, but it is jerky, so that's a lot of the process. Going to be making some corned beef jerky. So here we're starting out with a store-bought corned beef brisket. So this is something I've never seen, and I doubt anyone would try and make and sell commercially. And I know why. It's because for jerky, you really want a super lean meat. And as you can see, this is a pretty fatty meat and pretty well marbled as well. So I just want to do this as something fun for myself, just to see what would happen. I have the dehydrator and I've been putting it to good use. Haven't made a video of all the jerkies I've been making, but I've made some pretty tasty stuff. But yeah, just starting out by cutting off this layer of fat. I would definitely do this even if I was just doing my normal seasonal thing. Usually I would buy a corned beef brisket like this, pop it in the crock pot on top of some cabbage and carrots and potatoes, and have a delicious meal at the end of it. But doing something a bit different this year, I thought it'd be fun to do and make a video of. So just cutting off as much visible fat as I can. But yeah, fat is kind of the bane of jerky because it doesn't dry correctly, and that's what would go rancid faster. Yeah, that's what would be your issue with preserving it long term. So that's why you'd go for your eye of round or your pretty lean meats like that. Eye of round is kind of the go-to. But thought this would be interesting nonetheless, and it was fun to do. So, and not trying to preserve this super long or anything. Just a fun snack for the next week or so. But yeah, I got my discard bowl up there, and then a little gallon bag. Not super necessary, but I do like using the gallon bags when I have like a marinade or seasoning to mix things up in. But yeah, I'd kind of do this anyway. I'm fairly health conscious, and especially if you're cooking something in a crock pot, you don't want it to have all this fat coming off it and sitting in the crock pot with it anyway, so you'll want to trim stuff off. But it's already looking like a tastier piece of meat without all that on it. But still pretty well marbled, as you can see. So this was like the longest part of prepping this. After this, things weren't too bad. Also, there's usually have some of the cutting and cooking sounds and stuff like that, but I was actually making this while just kind of listening to and watching part of an episode of The Witcher, which I just finished up tonight. That was a good show. But we are just about ready to go here. Yeah, kind of planning out how I want to cut it. because ideally you want to cut things so that they dehydrate evenly and quickly. So ideally you get them into 1/4 inch thick strips. And as just my personal preference, I like the smaller knife, smaller and sharp, to get in there and cut off the meat and do the trimming. And then I use this long one because it's easier to get a consistently long strip of meat. And when I first was making jerky, I wasn't cutting them that thin, but I think I've gotten pretty good at getting them to a consistent width and getting some nice long strips out of it. I have this sped up on super time, but so it's going pretty quick, but you know, it took like 30 minutes, but down to like 8 on super speed here. But ideally I go for the long strips, but you know, sometimes there ain't nothing wrong with having the little pieces too in there. Sometimes you just feel like grabbing a tiny piece. But I really enjoy making different kinds of jerky now. I've made a bunch of different kinds. Lots of different like teriyaki ones and some like hatch chili barbacoa ones that were super good. Some like garlic and soy ones. Some just like black pepper ones. So, it's pretty easy and fun. I think like all the ones I've made have turned out really good. Better than a lot of store-bought ones. And I'm sure healthier too. I don't add nearly as much salt and or sugars or other stuff, and you know, no extra preservatives and stuff. I used a cure one time, but actually it came out, I mean, it still tasted good, but I don't think it was as good as without it, so it just makes it, I don't know, I think it's supposed to make it last longer and be a little different texture. So, you know, the seasoning packet that it normally comes with is just kind of like mustard seeds and pepper and crushed red pepper and black pepper, uncrushed black pepper, and you know, different seasonings like that. So I took that, and it shares a lot of the same spices with pickling seasoning. So I kind of added a little bit to that, and then crushed it up in a bowl, so I could season them with a little bit of that evenly, just to get the full corned beef effect here. And also, generally, I marinate things overnight before making jerky, but corned beef is actually already like brined, so it didn't need any more preparation, which was kind of convenient. But once you have it in the gallon bag, it's not a huge deal to put you know, some marinade in there and mix it up. So didn't save too much time, but well, active time. It saved having to wait a night. But look at these are going to be some nice Oh yeah, one thing I did. I don't know if you guys have had pork with duck sauce, but I always enjoyed that. And I made pork jerky in a duck sauce glaze that I homemade my own duck sauce. And that actually came out super good. Tasted just like what you would expect with, just like if you made home cooked meal, just pork with duck sauce. But anyway, I put this on just the trays over this so I don't spill any of our seasoning that we're putting on. Laying out those strips. This one actually has some longer strips going on even. Yeah, I had an empty like seasoning shaker. I think it was for parsley. Not that that matters at all, but I just remember that it was. And I put my ground up seasoning in that just so I could shake it up high and evenly distribute on here. I was considering trying to dump some of the seasoning in the bag and mix it up, but I think that would have just not worked as well and just ended up with a few super seasoned slices and then a bunch with barely any on it. So this worked out really well. Tray number 2 off and away. And here we go on to the next one. I just tried to spread them out pretty evenly and with a little bit room between them. Probably could put them closer, but I don't know. I don't like to crowd them. Just let some airflow around them and let them dry. But yeah, you can see they're pretty marbled. So yeah, not your normal ideal choice for jerky because of that. To combat that a little, I did let them dehydrate a bit longer than I've normally been doing. And actually I've been keeping them in the refrigerator just to be extra safe with it too. And I've experimented with just keeping some in the refrigerator, and I found that it doesn't really matter to jerky. It just tastes the same anyway and doesn't do anything extra, because normally, I don't know, you put things in the refrigerator and it pulls the moisture out of them, but you know, it's jerky. It already has all the moisture pulled out of it, so in my experience it hasn't changed it at all. But yeah, this isn't something you would see done in the store or anything. I'm sure because you generally want to get that leanest cut of meat. But I think what I could do, if I were to attempt this again, this was just a trial run to see if the flavors worked. And I think they did. I enjoyed it, but I'll talk about that more later. I could just get an eye of round and then make my own corned beef kind of brine marinade. And, do the same thing but with a lean cut of meat. And I think that would turn out really well. So if I was to do this again, I think I would just go and make my own corned beef from scratch like that. Because I've seen recipes online for corned beef. So I did it at 165 for, I think I actually ended up putting it in more, maybe like doing like 5 hours on 165. Here's them probably about 4 hours in. So I think normally with the jerky I would stop at this point, but since this did have a little bit more fat on it, I let it go a bit longer past this, just to be certain. And here we go, here's the final product. So there was a little bit more dry than, or some of the pieces, some of the thinner ones were a little bit more dry, but the flavor on these turned out great. I mean, it tastes like, even kind of like, I don't know, the flavor, like when you eat one, it's kind of like you're getting the satisfaction of having eaten, I don't know, a few slices of corned beef. Like the flavor is even condensed in it, so it's strong and it tastes just like eating corned beef. So in that regard, it turned out great. If I wanted to make it more shelf stable, like I said, I would definitely just do my own brine with a leaner cut of meat. But I just like dabbling with different things and seeing how they turn out as jerky. And always like the return on investment is definitely worth it too. Like, you could spend like 15-20 bucks on jerky and get like 12 ounces of jerky. Whereas, you could do this for like 20 bucks and have just an entire container. Or corned beef was a little bit more expensive, but I could get some eye of round and make like 3 pounds of jerky for how much you get for like 12 ounces in a store-bought bag. But yeah, this was just something I wanted to try for St. Patrick's Day, since corned beef is definitely a traditional meal, and I wanted to see how it would turn out in delicious jerky snack form. And I think it turned out really well. I've been snacking on these for a couple of days now, and they're delicious. I always like my jerky to have a little bit of the seasoning and visible stuff on top too. But anyway, leave a like or a comment if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.